Netflix on the screen, healthcare in between, physics, art, and math got us down this path. Historical tales come alive, where science and stories dive, blended facts with heart, knowledge from the start. Need bridge blues we sing to the future memory. Health and science in the mix, Midbridge got the fix. Complex subjects made clear, every episode with cheer. Ramona leads the way, explaining day by day. In the world of digital streams, turning knowledge into dreams. Through the tales of old, new stories unfold.
Medbix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Welcome to the Medbix Webcast. This is Ramana Namaraju. I'm the host. I have a very interesting program today. I have a very frequent guest of mine. She has a really lot of qualifications. She's from MIT. She's from UCSF. She's a teacher in Stanford. Think about that, and she's an entrepreneur. And she's in the middle of the political storm. Really, in the political storm, she's in the center of it. So hats off to her. In the world of all these, what's going on in the world, with the particularly related to women, we are in the storm, and she is right in the middle. So without further ado, I want to introduce you, Dr. Sophia Yen. She is a frequent guest of mine. She's been a great guest, and she's a very woman. I don't know. I'm not a woman. I don't understand all the things. I have a daughter, and I see through her lenses sometimes. But it's all complicated. It's a very woman's health is a very different, and requirements are different. So it's really, if you understand it, and then really we need to address that. And then she understands those things, and health choices are, nowadays with the political things going on, it is a very challenging to go through the legal issues and all those things. So let us ask her. Let me bring it to the table. Sophia Yen. Welcome, Sophia, to the Medbix Webcast.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Today is World Contraception Day, so I have my Thanks Birth Control t-shirt on, and I want to thank birth control for allowing me to decide when and how many kids I want to have, so that way I was able to avoid pregnancy and get through medical school, residency, fellowship, a master's in public health, and establish myself as a professor for a couple of years before popping out 2 children and contributing to the world. So thank you, birth control, and thank you, Romana, for having me on this podcast today.
Sophia, right now we are going in the middle of the storm. That, as that is a lot of things. One second, let me hide this. Yeah. So we are going through a lot of political storm right now. Tell us a little bit what's going on in the politics side. What is illegal, first of all? What are the legal in what states they allow you? Because the Roe versus Wade was returned back to the states. So what states allowed certain things? They didn't allow certain things. Can you tell us a little bit? At least you can mention the big states like New York, Texas, and California, and my state of Georgia. And so on.
Yes. So I actually have a slide on. Oh, there we go. This, if you want to share that slide, Romana. I used to serve on the board of the Center for Reproductive Rights. They are the legal arm of the reproductive rights movement. They have been on every Supreme Court case that has protected or fought for abortion rights, reproductive rights, and they do work both in the US and internationally, and they do it at great bang for buck. I'm always with these thrifty organizations. This map in green are the states that have expanded access to abortion, but the red are those that are hostile, and the deep red where abortion is illegal. And they update this website once a week at least with the latest laws that are in every single state. The gold, luckily, are protected, but before Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Dobbs decision by the heavily conservative and religious Supreme Court members that Trump appointed, abortion was legal in all 50 states. And those of us born with uteruses were treated equal in all 50 states. But when they reversed Dobbs, they reverted back to the states. And some of the states had very archaic laws from like the 1850s or something like that, horrific, that were still on their books that then instantly came into play. And then some aggressive anti-abortion Republican-controlled states such as Texas and Florida passed, and Georgia, unfortunately, passed like 6-week bans. And for anybody who's ever had a uterus and bled once a month, during our prime reproductive years, when you miss that first period, you just wait for that second one, hoping that first one was just stress or an error. And by the time you miss the second one, that's 8 weeks. And in all of those states where they have a 6-week ban, that's too late. So if you miss that first period, you can't wait. You better jump on that if you want to do anything. And even then, a lot of these states, it's absolutely illegal. And they say, well, there's exceptions for rape and incest, or the life of the mother. But the life of the mother is so vague, and no doctor wants to risk their license. It was so hard to become a doctor. I don't want to risk losing my livelihood and going to jail and being fined because I don't know when Texas will arrest me, or Florida will arrest me, or Georgia will arrest me, or take away my license. And so a lot of people are like, well, if you're a doctor, you should just save the woman's life. And it's like, would you ask anybody else to risk going to jail or having to pay money or never being able to do their job ever again just for you? I think that's asking a lot. What we're asking you instead is to vote for people that trust women with the right to decide what happens to their bodies. And to me, this is really about freedom of religion. My body, my religion, your body, your religion. You have every right to try to convince me to your religion, but to force your religion down my throat is un-American.
Yeah. This is a big political debate, and it's going to be decided at the polls probably, the real elections. So what do you think the woman should, with the given situations, what are the options they have at this time?
So it's really, really important that everyone knows all of their birth control options and that you, quote, optimize your birth control. The whole reason I started Pandia Health was to make sure no one ran out of birth control on our watch. And one of the top reasons why people don't use their birth control pills, patches, or rings is they didn't have it in their hand. They didn't have time to run to the pharmacy while the pharmacy was open. And even if they got to the pharmacy 8 days ahead of time, then their pharmacy benefits manager's like, you have to come back tomorrow. And you're like, but I'm here now. I have work tomorrow. I have to pick up the kids. I have meetings. I don't have time to come back tomorrow. Sorry, you got to pay for it. And it's like, And so the whole point of Pandia Health is we will poke your insurance and be like, can I fill it yet? Can I fill it yet? How many can I fill? Let's fill a lot of this. And we also want to make sure you don't run out by saying, oh, your prescription is going to run out in 2 months. Go see your doctor. Get a renewal. Go get a refill. So make sure you are on good birth control, because now if your birth control fails, you don't have the option in a lot of these states. And then the other one is know about the website, plancpills.org. It delivers to all 50 states medication abortion. There is Dr. Gompertz in the Netherlands. She'll write the prescription, and then they'll send the medication from India so no one in the US goes to jail. They have free medical advice. They also, if you pay for it, it's a nonprofit, but it costs money to use the websites that they list on there that they've tested to make sure it's safe. It's about $100 for a medication abortion. You can get the pills ahead of time and just have it sitting in case of emergency, in case of, God forbid, a sexual assault, and just take it. One thing that my friend who started the website is kind of brilliant is that if you don't check a pregnancy test, then you were never pregnant and it wasn't an abortion. So if you miss your period and you just take the medication abortion pill to make your period come regularly, you never checked a pregnancy test, it never was an abortion. It was just you taking medicine to make your period come on time. So those are two creative ways to get around it. But I also just think anybody going to one of these red states, make sure you have some medication abortion in case you need it. Also know the laws in your state. Know that there's free legal advice lines, plancpills.org, and places that you can get the medication if you need it, but better to get it ahead of time. And so I suggest for every household of 10 women in a dorm, in a sorority, group of friends on a street, you all just, each of you pay $10 and you buy a pack. And then if anybody needs it, you're like, okay, you take it. And once you use it, then you just refill it for the next person.
Oh, that's a good idea. So just sorority kind of thing you're trying to do. Let me ask you a question. What are the, all insurance companies pay for the both for the abortion, the birth control pills and abortion pill, both do they pay?
So, thanks to the Affordable Care Act under Obama Biden, so that's what happens when you vote for Democrats. They believe in health care. They passed a law that under the Affordable Care Act, any insurance has to cover any FDA-approved birth control with no copay, no deductible, unless they get a religious waiver. And the most famous one you all might have heard of is Hobby Lobby or the Catholic Church. And unfortunately, the Catholic Church controls Jesuit colleges such as Georgetown or USC, I believe, or Santa Clara University. You would never know they're religious on their names. At least I didn't. But because they are not required to cover your birth control with no copay, no deductible. With respect to abortion, 85% of insurances cover abortion, private insurance, but 15% don't. And so it should be covered, though if you're doing this telemedicine abortion, they're taking your credit card and then you can deal with your insurance and see if you can get reimbursed. And perhaps if it's illegal in your state, then they're probably not going to cover that, because then they would be condoning illegal behavior in your state.
So, that includes Medi-Cal and public health, public aid programs are all public
for
aid
birth control. Yes, it's always been in the government's interest to pay for birth control rather than the consequences of not birth control. Because if you don't give people birth control, what happens? You have unplanned pregnancy, and that costs society a ton of money. They've done research for every $1 that government spends on birth control, it saves 7. For every $1 that private insurance spends on birth control, it saves 4. So it's economically smart to invest in birth control to prevent unplanned pregnancies, because they have to cover the pregnancy and then the pre and postnatal care, the ultrasound, all the blood tests, giving birth. Like one vaginal birth is $10,000 just for the hospital, not all the prenatal care and all that stuff. And then one C-section is $40,000. And again, not including the prenatal care visits, ultrasounds, blood tests, and then the baby and all the well checks afterwards. Just that one event.
I'm a politically neutral, but what their other argument is, they say that pro-life, they want to do life to be flourish. That's what we want to advance life. That's what their argument is. But it's all up to the individuals. So, I leave to the politicians to decide on that kind of game. Let me ask you a question on the. So let us talk about a little bit about birth control pills. What are the things available, and you can do some presentation on it. Probably you want me to
Yes.
bring the.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you
tell
could bring up
me.
the slide, that'd be great. So
Yeah,
this slide, I think every physician and every provider and every educated human should know this if you're heterosexual. If you're homosexual, you don't need to know this. But if you want to be educated, you should know this. This is the CDC effectiveness of birth control chart, going from most effective to least effective. And what blows my mind every time I show this list is that the implant beats vasectomy. Vasectomy is the gold standard. And so what this chart is showing you is that 5 out of 100,000 people using the implant will get pregnant, versus on the right side, I think it might be cut off on our screen, but 15 out of 100,000 of people with vasectomy will get pregnant. So the implant is 3 times as good as a vasectomy, which is a gold standard here. And then next comes the IUD with hormone beats tubal ligation, which is the female version of vasectomy. And tubal ligation is no small thing. They take out 1 inch on each side and burn it. And the fact that you can still get pregnant despite that is crazy. And the fact that the IUD with hormone beats that is amazing as well. Next comes the copper IUD. Oops, we can go back one slide.
no, I went to the too far.
Yeah, there we go. Next comes the copper IUD, the shot, the ring, the patch, the pill. The ring comes before the patch, before the pill, because the ring you can mess up 12 times a year, the patch 52 times a year, and the pill 365. Condoms alone are lower in efficacy, but if you put condoms plus any of the above methods, then you improve its efficacy, all of their efficacy. So condoms plus any of the above methods would be a great thing, though you don't technically need it with a vasectomy and tubal ligation, though you do see there are some failures there. And
You
then,
can,
go
you
ahead.
can actually do the arrow keys on your keypad. If you press the arrow keys to the right, it will
Okay.
automatically move the presentation. See that?
Got it. Okay.
Can you move?
Aha.
Yeah.
And then know that there's some new birth control methods out there. For example, Phexxi, but I'm not a fan of this one. I used to think whatever's the latest is the greatest, but sometimes the latest is just what they were able to create and sell. It doesn't mean that it's the best thing out there. 15% of people using Phexxi will get pregnant versus spermicide. But the most damning thing about Phexxi is that it's $353 for 12 doses, and you have to use it within an hour of having sex, and you have to put a new dose every time you had sex. And if I recall, when I was 20, I was having sex like 2 or 3 times a night. So that would be $100 anytime I had sex, which is way too much for sex. And for a 15% pregnancy rate, I would not do that.
Yeah. So that's a dose. You got to take it just every time you have sex. You
have to put it up your vagina every single time you have sex.
God, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's not a fan. There is an over-the-counter pill, and it is the most effective thing you can get over the counter. However, I want to tell you the formulation was approved in 1973, probably before many of you watching this, if you're younger, were even born. And then it was taken off market in 2005. Not because it did anything horrible, because everything else was better. And so if you have access to a prescriber, Pandia Health, we can prescribe in 15 states, and we encourage birth control tourism. So example, we're not in New Jersey and Connecticut, but we are in New York. We are in California, Florida, Texas, Nevada, some of the swing states, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, maybe. I can't remember all 15 because that's a lot of states for me to remember, but we encourage birth control tourism. If you can get a prescriber, then we can prescribe you all 40 different birth control pills, the patch, the ring, and sometimes a shot if you want, versus only this one pill you can get over the counter, and important as a public service announcement that this pill is very particular. So the progesterone only pill, the O pill, is particular in that if you are late by 3 hours taking this medicine, and if you're flying from California to New York to California, any flight longer than 3 hours, or if you watch the movie Oppenheimer and you are late by taking your pill, then you are literally screwed if you had sex in the past 5 days and there's still sperm running around, because then you are at risk of pregnancy. And then if you didn't do that, you still have to wait 2 days before you have sex while the hormone builds back up, or you at least have to use condoms, which you should be using anyway. But I think most people don't realize this 3 hour window. Otherwise, you risk getting pregnant. So that's not the best thing out there, even though it is the newest thing. It is the best over-the-counter option, but if you can get a prescriber, please get your other options, which are better.
So there's not one thing fits everybody. You have to have an individualized process, and then their likings. That's all you're saying. Is all not for one thing that you can prescribe to generally to all of them. Is there any one general prescription you have? In general, it fits everybody.
So I would say that, what we're taught in medical school is prescribe this particular birth control pill. And as a woman of color, Asian, Black, Latina, spoke to my fellow Asian, Black, Latina doctors, and we're like, oh yeah, that pill they're teaching us to prescribe everybody across the nation in medical school does not work for our people. It works if you're a Caucasian female that wants to bleed every month. But if you're not, that's not a great pill. And so I was like, oh yeah, I had to go through 3 different birth control pills till I found one that worked. And only because I was highly motivated as a pre-med student who had to get through college, medical school, residency, fellowship, MPH before I could pop out my kids, did I stick with it to find one that worked for me. And wouldn't it be great if I could help women just jump to the best possible birth control pill? And so at Pandia Health, we've come up with an algorithm to help choose the best birth control pill for a woman for your first birth control pill, and follow up if you have side effects with it. But with our algorithm, 94% of those who use us are happy at 10 weeks with the first pill we give them. And like, yeah, let's continue this. And then 82% of our patients are still with us at a year versus the standard 55%. So we've done a pretty good job of making sure women have the best possible health care.
What are the side effects, Sophia, on this one? What are the general side effects for any
control?
birth control.
You can take down the slides. The general side effects for pills that are negative that you can avoid are hairiness, munchies, breakthrough bleeding, acne. Though the research has shown that any birth control is better than no birth control pill for acne, because when you are without birth control pills, your hormones are up and down, and that's what's causing the acne, the imbalance in hormones. And by putting you on the birth control pills, we smooth out your hormones, but also when you increase the synthetic estrogen in your blood, it causes the sex hormone binding globulin to go up. That binds the testosterone, and that decreases your acne.
So, yeah, okay. I put your website there, Pandia Health, under your name. Is that right?
Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, pandiahealth.com. So they tell us a little bit about. So you covered most of the states. You have how many states you have a presence right now?
15 states.
Big states. Texas. You covered all major states, right?
The big states. But here, I have the list. Let me read it out for you just for fun.
Okay.
Here we
please.
go.
No, it's not fun. It's really serious. Because I got relatives in all the states,
Yes. We are in Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New York, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wyoming. And again, we encourage birth control tourism. So as long as you can put your foot in one of these states, like I learned that Maryland is just 30 minutes away from Pennsylvania. So put your foot in Pennsylvania and say, I am right now in Pennsylvania. Then our doctor in Pennsylvania can legally write you a prescription, and then we can deliver to all 50 states.
Okay. So they can deliver to their state, but as long as they call from the state, they're visiting that state and they're in that state.
then we
right?
can prescribe. And we only need you to get there once a year.
Okay. Let us talk about a little bit about what else you want to talk about. Birth control pills. The abortion
Yes.
pill. That's kind of a controversial, but they say something about it. I am not. I don't want to be into the politics of that. But at this time, in the middle of the politics right now, we are
Well, I
in.
really think it's important for people to realize that 70% of those people on the birth control pill patch ring are on it for non-contraceptive benefits as well. And the number one cause of missed school and work in a woman under the age of 25 is heavy, painful periods. So
Yeah.
many women go on the birth control pill, not for contraception, if your religion is not into that. They're on it so that they can go to work, so they can function, because once a month they have horrible pain and lots of blood loss causing anemia. Some of them have endometriosis. Some of them have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Some of them are using it for acne. So the fact that the Republican Party is trying to slippery slope to outlaw birth control is ridiculous, because if you take that away, what am I going to treat my polycystic ovarian syndrome, which affects 1 in 10 women? What am I going to treat endometriosis, which affects another 1 in 10 women? And then how am I going to decrease the risk of ovarian cancer? The only way to decrease a person's risk of ovarian cancer who was born with ovaries is to take out the ovaries, which we don't recommend unless you're postmenopausal and you don't need them and you happen to be in there anyway. But by going on the birth control pill, patch, or ring for 5 years, you decrease your risk of ovarian cancer by 50%. And then lastly, we're using birth control in the perimenopausal stage, which is leading up to menopause, where your hormones like blah, blah, blah. And that's why you're having the hot flashes and the night sweats. And if we take it over with birth control and smooth it out, you don't have the blah, blah, blah. And so if you take that away, what am I going to use to treat women? This works. Please don't touch medicine. Leave it to the physicians. Keep politics out of medicine. But right now we have to be very aware that one party supports birth control, one party supports low-income women and children, and another party does not.
Now, let us talk about a little bit more about you're not only you do this, you do the eczema and all these skin allergies tell us a little bit about eczema and all the skin disorders that
Yes.
you were talking about.
So at Pandia Health, we also do acne. It's because I have an adolescent medicine background. And so acne is very simple to treat. Ask anybody, even the founders of Proactive, who've now, I think, opened a new company. I forget the name, Aiden or something like that. But anything we can prescribe beats anything you can get over the counter, because a retinoid, tretinoin, is fundamental to treating acne. The causes of acne are: 1, your cells are sticky and they're blocking up the pore. 2, the pore is spewing out oil. 3, there are bacteria. And 4, maybe inflammation. And so when you use tretinoin, a topical retinoid, generic, you can take care of it. Makes your pores smaller, it makes your cells less sticky, and it turns over your acne faster. It doesn't help with the bacteria. The bacteria, you have to use benzoyl peroxide, or if you need stronger, then topical antibiotics or oral antibiotics. But anything a doctor can prescribe beats anything that you can get over the counter. And so at Pandia Health, we also do acne. And then I hit menopause. All my friends are like, menopause. And I'm like,
No, let's talk about acne.
Okay.
Because the reason is I come across a lot of young women. I don't come across, but my daughter is a friend. She always talk. My daughter told me several times she had all her friends suffer all these things, and the constant complaint and the self-confidence they go through acne problems.
Yes.
This is a very common thing. I didn't know this, how common that is among young women. There's a very big common problem, the acne is. So is there any how do you address this massive problem
Yeah.
when to address when is a serious problem this is?
Yes.
Do you have
So
some roadmap for that?
80% of people will be affected by acne generally as they go through puberty, and another 10% will continue on to adulthood. Those of us who cycle every single month, some of us are affected. Our hormones are obviously affected, and sometimes the testosterone outweighs the estrogen, and that's what puts you at greater risk for acne. Another thing that puts you at greater risk for acne is something that affects 1 in 10 of us born with uteri called polycystic ovarian syndrome. So if you have irregular periods, acne, and hairiness, please see a doctor and ask them to check you for polycystic ovarian syndrome, though the treatment is birth control pills, plus maybe some metformin. For the acne, how do you know when you need to see a doctor for acne? If you try the over-the-counter, first line would be benzoyl peroxide wash or soap. Generally, do not recommend higher than 5% gel, but for soap and shampoo, I don't even know how it works because the water should really dilute it. So I don't care what strength you do. But for the topical gel, no greater than 5%, because they've shown at 10%, it doesn't work better. It just has more side effects. Once you've failed the benzoyl peroxide, there is adapalene that you can buy over the counter. Or
most of them fail. What is success rate on that one? A lot of I've seen that is a persistent this acne problem is in general, right?
Yeah. I would say that if you fail benzoyl peroxide, go see your doctor. You don't necessarily have to see a dermatologist. Your primary care doctor should be able to handle 80-90% of acne, but they may not feel confident. They may not have experience. Certainly an adolescent medicine specialist, if you're under 18, should be confident and able to do that. And any academic center will have an adolescent medicine specialist, but not everyone has that. And so maybe just call your doctor's office and be like, do you feel comfortable treating acne? Otherwise, go to the dermatologist. Otherwise, refer me to the dermatologist, depending if you have HMO or PPO.
Yeah, primary care should be trained on this one a little bit. At least they need to be exposed on that in this one, particularly because so many young women, a lot of women having this problem, young girls, and it affects their confidence in general. That's a bigger thing.
And
Let's talk about the other parts of the other spectrum, other end of the spectrum, menopause.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Yeah.
Important to know that the average age of menopause is about 52 in the United States, but Asians might be later and other people might be earlier based on their race, ethnicity, but that menopause is your last period. And unfortunately, we don't know you're in menopause till 12 months after your last period. So those of us with uteri are like, is that my last period? And then 3 months later, you get another one. You're like, I got to wait another 12 months to see if that's my last period. And it's really, really annoying and stressful for those of us that are around that area. Also know that for 6 to 7 years before that final period, we call that perimenopause, around before menopause. That's when your hormones are weird. And you might benefit from hormone therapy, which might come in the form of a birth control pill, low dose, to take over your system so it's not like this. And a lot of people are like, but I want bioidentical hormone therapy. I heard you have that. And yes, we have that for when you're after menopause and the hormones are zero and nothing or minimal, and we're just adding back what you need, versus here where it's all sorts of weird. If I add estrogen, I get put it on top of high estrogen and make the situation worse. So before menopause, you might need a birth control pill, patch, or ring to take over the system. After menopause, it's bioidentical estrogen and progesterone. And know that estrogen is good for your blood, brain, and bones. Though the only indications for estrogen replacement therapy or estrogen hormonal therapy or menopause therapy are hot flashes, night sweats, genital urinary symptoms, so recurrent urinary tract infections with the feeling you need to pee when you don't really need to pee, or just painful vagina sex. I call it sandpaper vagina. And then lastly, risk for osteoporosis. So a lot of us minorities are lactose intolerant. We don't get much calcium. We're small bones, small people, family history of osteoporosis. That immediately allows you to get hormone replacement therapy or hormone therapy or menopause hormone therapy, depending what you want to call it.
So when I get back, I'm going to present a topic. Actually, she's a woman, woman that, is independent woman, 1930s and 40s. And I'm going to talk about her. And after that, I come back and ask you, contact information, how they can reach you, and any discount specials you have, you can announce it there. So let me present her. Is okay?
Great.
Yeah. This is a Sophia Yen from a Stanford professor. She is a MIT. Oh, she got all the qualifications. UCSF, you cannot get better than that. Any advice. That is the best advice. All women should seek her advice. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about a little bit about a different, I will take you to the different era. She is a sex bomb, and she's a sex. She's talking. Sophia is talking about a lot about sex today. So let us talk about that. She is a sexy. They call her bombshell. Okay, sex bomb, or everything. She got the name. She is a 1940 Hollywood star. She's one of the famous stars. I tell you about that a little bit in a second. Who is she? Her name is she was born as Eva. That is let me. Her name is Hedwig Eva Kessler. Her name Maria Kessler. She was born in 1914. She was born in Vienna, Austria. Most beautiful woman, stunning girl. At the age of 12, she won the beauty contest, and so she's a very well. She came from a very rich family, Jewish family. Father is a banker, and mother is a concert pianist in Vienna. Think about Vienna. Vienna is a center of music. Mother is a concert pianist there, and she has a private tutoring. She came from a very wealthy family, and but she's very curious, and she used to spend a lot of time with her father. And then father used to talk about technology of that time. It's not the internet and all those things that you're talking about, AI. They're talking about printing technology, steaming engines. Is always talking with you. That's the only daughter they have. They don't have a brother or sister. So that's what she is talking about. He's very fascinated about technology at that time, and he was talking with her. And so she's a very curious girl. During the time she won the beauty contest in Vienna, but she was then after that. Actually, what happened is that So so some Czechoslovakian film director found her in Vienna, and then took her to Czechoslovakia and put her she was hardly 18. She was in the nude film. She acted in the nude picture, first nude picture that's called Ecstasy. Name it Ecstasy, and she became a 1933. Think about that. She came in the 1933, right close to the Vatican. The nude picture came out. The whole sensation. She was probably, all the religious jealots are all up in the air. 1933. So she became a world. All the guys are all. She's a well known, and she already everybody knows her. She became the picture is banned in several countries, but she was a popular, and by black market, and everybody is buying and seeing her picture. She's a stunning, she's a really bombshell beauty. She is. So what happened is that then she moved to, and this is during the time of MG. She went to London for acting, modeling career, and then MGM found her in the MGM in 1937 or 30, around that time. He found her MGM studio. Leon Meyer found her in there, and then he took her to the Hollywood. Actually, that is where she moved to United States. Then Hitler was actually 25. Hitler was born in Austria. You know that he's not a German. Actually, he's Austrian. He was born in Austria, and then he was 25 years senior than her, and then he invaded Austria. He moved to Germany, and then came back and invaded Austria, his own country. He invaded, and then by the time her father died already by the time, and mother. So Maria Kessler moved to United States, and then she changed her name to Hedy Lamarr. But before she changed her name to Hedy Lamarr, she brought her mother back to United States, because right in the after the Hitler invaded Austria, and she thought that the persecution to the Jewish people, so she went there and got her somehow got her mother to back to United States. So she became a she became the she became a very sensation in Hollywood. She became Hedy Lamarr. I don't know how the names they came up with this. MGM came up with the name Hedy Lamarr, and then from a Eva Kessler to became a Hedy Lamarr, and then she acted with Clark Gable and one of the famous actors during a time 1930s and 40s. She's a very famous actress. She acted in all our runaway hits. So but she doesn't speak English that well. English is okay, but she was in all the films. She's a stunning beauty. She's one of the most beautiful women in the say there's a Femi Fatale. She called her Hollywood is a Hollywood heartthrob. She was. So what's happened? She what happened here is that I, I can. Oh yeah, she married. Oh yeah, she likes sex a lot, and she likes her husbands too. So she married a lots of people. She had a 6 time married and several other relationships, and married 6 men. But last 35 years she was a single actually. But I tell you about that in a second. But she during their film career, she met aviation pioneer Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes is a big in the airplanes. That he was a big in building planes and all those things. So she met him. So at the time, just Hitler started going into the other countries, and America was concerned. They wanted to get into the war with the Germany. So he wants to build the fastest planes. So he's looking for faster planes. How do you build it? So he was having a relationship he was dating Hedy Lamarr. She has a brilliant mind, a curious mind. She has no background in science and technology, but she has a lot of common sense. That's why polymath is a very, very important. Where you get these ideas is important to get exposed to other fields other fields. What she did was, I tell you what she did. She gave the best idea to him. What she did was, she took the books on the fastest fish, and then she took up books on the fastest birds. Why they do, what is first the fastest fish. Then what the scales, if you see, now we found out after a long time, she's way ahead of her times. In fact, now most of the airplanes, they adopted that technology, the scales that reduced the 25% drag. In fact, on the plane, on the lifting, for example, Airbus 380 adopted the lifting of that fastest bird, lifting that the contour of the bird. So Airbus 380 recently adopted that thrust technology. So think about that. She got this idea, and she was giving these ideas to Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes called her, "You're a genius." They didn't have all the technology understanding completely, but that was the right direction to go. What she did was, fastest fish and fastest bird, combine this technology, you can get a faster planes. What a brilliant mind she was. So he was so impressed. He gave her a lab. Okay, he created a lab for her in her trailer, and she can do experiment. So she wanted to support. She's a Jewish woman. She wanted to support the war against Hitler. So she wanted to create tablets for the Coke, because all these, in the field, you cannot get water everywhere. It's difficult to carry all these the Coca-Cola things. So what she was trying to create is a tablet, and then you could put in the water, it becomes a Coke. At least the idea was good. It did not succeed, because she said that They tasted like Alka-Seltzer or some baking soda. It didn't come out good. But she tried. That's at least she got the idea of trying that. But she also created the fluorescent color for the dogs. Now a lot of people don't know about that, but she was the inventor of the fluorescent color for the dogs. So she was always very innovative woman. But the mother of inventions came the next. That is, this is the complex invention she came out. I tell you what that is. If I can, I think. 1 second, I can't see this. Yeah. So yeah, George. She met the George, and she was dating a guy she met in the party, and his name is George Antal. George Antal is a bad boy of music there during the time 1940s. Bad boy music means he's playing a jazz music or something. I don't know. Even. He's a very eccentric guy. He lived in Paris. He's from New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey. But he was a party guy. So he created a ballet mechanic. It's a robotic orchestra created in Paris, in fact. And he brought to United States, but he was not all matched up very well. But that beats, that piano, it's hopping piano. It's automatically all the things, pneumatic pressures they use delays techniques to pneumatic pressures. So he created a complete ballet mechanic. He produced an album with the robotic orchestra. So nobody there. It moves automatically. He did that in 1940s, 90, at the late 1930s and 40s. So she saw that. That is one of the polymath thinking. You won't believe that's what they think. Polymaths think. She thought that there was a problem in the World War II. I tell you what the problem is. The problem is World War II. The United States ships, they're trying to target the German ships, German Navy ships. So they use the torpedoes. Torpedoes, you have the radio communication there. It is a guided missile. Basically, is a guided missile in the air, but it's a guided in the sea. What the Germans are doing is they're intercepting that communication between the ship and the torpedo, and then diverting that and not getting hitting by the torpedoes, or torpedoes are getting wasted. So the U.S. military was frustrated, and they wanted to get solution for this. They don't know how to do, because Germans are encrypting all this, solving this encryption, and the problem is they're intercepting the communication. How does it work? Actually, I'll give you a little bit more technical, a little bit more. You take a signal, which is all the signal is an electromagnetic wave. It tells you what to do. To take a left turn, take a right turn, whatever it is. Okay, and they put on the radio wave. They mix them together. The modulated wave. The third wave you see on the left side. The third one is the real wave. That is a signal. Actually, that is the actual signal comes out of the modulated wave. What the Germans are doing is they're intercepting that third wave. So that is a big problem. She came up with the brilliant woman. What she did was she thought about piano. She knows that robotic piano player. So beats hopping, she saw that. So she wanted to create a frequency hopping. So the Hedy Lamarr came up with the brilliant idea of the player piano. I didn't know until yesterday. I don't know there is a player piano. Piano plays automatic. So these are player pianos that she took that frequencies. Basically, she took that beats hopping. She can convert them into frequency hopping. So she cannot catch that signal. The signal carries from different frequencies, different times, and only receiver knows that frequencies. So what she did was amazing. What she did. So she created that complicated 1942. They created a complicated engineering thing. Think about that. How much passion about science she is. She said that everybody said that she's the most beautiful woman on the planet. She said that she got so used to be upset about that. She says that any woman, you want to look beautiful, any woman could dress up and look stupid. They think beautiful they are. The press used to say. So she used to hear that. But frequency hopping, she came up with it. Then she got the patent on it. Actually, with the George Antal, she got the patent on the frequency hopping. But I'm going to explain to you a little bit more. The frequency synthesizer, like a piano player, produces different frequencies. That is called a frequency hopping spectrum. Spectrum. So different frequencies it produces. So you take the signal and put on the different frequencies on that one, on the spectrum. You put the signal on and move on to the interval, different intervals. You move the signal on. So only receiver has that in tune. The receiver also, like a player piano kind of a mechanism inside in the torpedo. So they can match that, and only they can receive that. They cannot interpret. They don't even know what it is to interpret. The Germans cannot stop that kind of a catch up that kind of a thing, because they're impossible to do the decipher that kind of a secret thing. That is an amazing idea she came back with. It is a way ahead of her times. So she took to the military and presented Aaron George Antal presented to the military guys, generals. They said they want to see her. That's all. They don't care. So they said, "Thank you, Mrs. Lamar, and we don't need your services," and send her back. That is a sad part of the whole story. And then what they did, this is a very sad story of the, sometimes that's why women get upset. You understand why. So Cuban Missile Crisis, they passed on that to the Navy contractor. He built it. So the secret, they took it and passed it on to the Navy contractor. He built the sonar detector. In fact, air technology was used in the Cuban Missile Crisis. All the ships surrounded the Cuba has carried that frequency hopping signal. All the torpedoes. It's written clearly, well-documented fact, that is. So Hedy Lamarr, she is omnipresent in the medical devices. Wireless medical devices, for example, heart pacemakers, because they do frequency hopping, because you cannot interrupt somebody. Suppose if your president have a pacemaker, a terrorist can go there and mess it up. You can't do that. Frequency hopping, infusion pumps, and all these things, medical devices carry the frequency hopping. Physician-patient communication, between. Can you hear me? Okay, just okay. So this happening is sometimes I lost this connection. I got to find out. I'm going to find out who is that doing that. Is something strange. But telemedicine, she was doing the wireless. The telemedicine is a very popular medical sensors network. All the medical sensors, remote patient monitoring, all the sensors use frequency hopping network. Here, invention. Bluetooth, all the Bluetooth healthcare networks are depend on the FH. This is called FHSS spectrum. They call frequency hopping spectrum. So after that, she is a. So you want to be specific? I can tell you, Accuson freestyle ultrasound machine uses actually the frequency spectrum hopping spectrum. FHS frequency hopping technology. They use the one she invented. They use that in the free all the ultrasound to get the images. Medtronics, for example, continuous. Yesterday, I was talking with Roger Royce about the continuous glucose monitoring. That is, they use specifically FHS spectrum frequency hopping spectrum in the Medtronic the lab. The what is that called? The unit is called I forgot, the Guardian. The Philips Lumify is another portable ultrasound, focus ultrasound, portable ultrasound. They use the same technology. And the zebra, RFIDs, all RFIDs, they use FHS, frequency hopping technologies, because that is, we all go to this remarkable woman. She got valued. She was, you would like that, Sophia. She was valued, valuation they did recently, $30 billion, but she got none, though. Unfortunate, right? She has none because her patent is expired, and she is valued at $30 billion. So she was Electronic Frontier Foundation gave her the Pioneer Award. Electronic electronic Frontier Foundation. These are all nerdy kind of AAA, IEEE, which is the most conservative organization, engineering organization I know of. My brother is a part of the member there. They don't even talk. If you are not a pure nerd, they won't even touch you. They call her her invention is a milestone. National Inventors Hall of Fame. They gave her the induction into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. What a remarkable woman she was. Her passion and her interest in science. So she died in Orlando, Florida, in Castleberry, at the age of 86. She moved on from Hollywood to back to Florida. She lived a very peaceful life and a very simple, modest house. And that is actually the van that's carrying her body. That is a final listing. She died at the age of 86, but that is a sad part of it. That is, she is one of those remarkable women that we need to, so actually Eddie Lamar movie, the Bombshell, that is a American Masters, PBS produced a Bombshell, is called, a documentary produced by PBS, is called Bombshell. And then the Broadway, they produced a Frequency Hopping. It's actually called Frequency Hopping. And the Broadway show, it is done. It is one of the remarkable women in the history. So science and medicine, and she loved all these people, all this science and passion for, it is not limited to, you don't have to love science. That's why I started this channel. You love science, you can be anybody can start that, anybody can really learn everything about it. That's a great thing about these kind of people. Thank you for listening. And what do you think, Sophia?
Thank you so much for teaching me about Hedy Lamarr and frequency jumping. I had never I've heard her name, but I never realized what accomplishment she's had. I definitely am a fan of any she heroes and learning more about she heroes, and I appreciate you always highlighting the she heroes that are here in the world.
Yeah, particularly, you are a hero yourself. To be honest with you, you are one of them. You're breaking a lot of new grounds, and let me put this. Yeah. So you're breaking a lot of grounds, and you're helping the young people of this world. So tell us, pandiahealth.com is your website, right? That is right.
You can also find us on YouTube. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram, sometimes on Reddit, but most often on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and definitely YouTube as well. Just check us out and share us with anyone who wants the best birth control care, expert menopause care, and acne as well.
So what is Pandia means? I wanted to ask
Great
you.
question.
Yeah.
Pandia is the Greek goddess of healing, light, full moon, because we're all about women's empowerment. And then I came up with the definition because people kept misspelling it. Pan is every, and dia is day. So we want to be with you every day from age 14 throughout your entire life.
That's good. That is the greatest service that you can provide to the woman of the world. It is really, this is service. I think we need a heroes like you all over the world. We need it. It's really advocating, particularly in India, in rural areas. I used to remember how difficult to express. I lived in a small village in India. I remember people going through menopause, and it was silent suffering. I seen so many people because they can't they can't even tell. There's a lot of taboo around it, stigma
Yes.
around it,
Yes.
and they were suffering. I didn't know that at the time. I was a kid. My father was a doctor, and he was paying attention, but it was serious problem, and 50% of the population is women, right?
Yes.
So we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough education there to address. We need a lot more people like you and like Hedy Lamar, advocating all the sciences to the world. Thank you so much, Japan. So what do you do? What are you doing nowadays? What is the next plans or anything good? Anything big coming up from your Pandia Health?
Pandia Health just continues to go on. If anybody wants to invest, definitely come our way. We also have Pandia Health Birth Control Fund that people can donate to. I will be at the health conference in Vegas in October, as well as my CEO and COO, sharing Pandia Health with people there. And anybody that wants to partner with us to help get out the word or get the best possible birth control and menopause treatment to women, we're always, open to that. And I want to thank you, Ramana, for always being such an ally of women, because we can't do it alone. We need the men to help as well.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to have you anytime. You're a great guest, and I'm always you never hesitate to come on my show, and you're always pleasant to work with. Thank you so much.
Thank
Good night, all of you guys. Let me play. Just give me 1 second. Stay for a few more minutes if I can play and then come back and talk with you in a second. Yeah, just a minute. All of you guys, thank you. Good night. My
Telling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.